Hello, and welcome to another episode of The End of the Search. This one I call it Freedom is Not a Choice. Now, this is something that has to do with a question someone asked in one of the comments. So I'm going to read the question, then I'm going to read the comment that I wrote, and then we'll elaborate a bit. And the question or the comment was, I agree that humans have no free will. Humans' lives plays out according to destiny. Everything is predetermined by the sum of all the preceding causes and conditions. The amount of money a person will have is written in stone before they are even born. Is it also the case that true nature has no free will because it doesn't do anything or make any choices? It simply is. If that's the case, in what way are we free in our true nature? Thanks. And then put in parentheses, it must be more than just the freedom of not having to deal with anything, close parentheses. Well, this is what I wrote in response, and then we'll elaborate a bit. I said, our true nature is freedom itself. That's why the last book of the series is I am or you are freedom, not free. I continue. The human experience, including every aspect of the projection, is bound by limits, and those limits are placed by thoughts. Without the thought, all that there is what is. That is to say, space is unlimited freedom in which everything appears. If there is identification with what appears in space with the thoughts, that is limitation. If on the other hand, the resting is as the space, that is freedom. We are freedom right now and always, just by being, not by thinking, not by doing, but by being. If we do not identify with thoughts, this idea of choices and who makes them becomes irrelevant. We only see life unfolding as an impersonal experience within the freedom that we are. So, when you're sleeping and you're dreaming, the mind itself is free to dream everything it wants. That's freedom. The freedom of the mind itself in bed that has the capacity to dream anything. The character in the dream, however, is not free to make any choices, but it lives within the freedom of the mind that dreams it. You see? So, when we identify with this seeming character, with the thought that says I'm this individual, although I am living in the freedom that I am bounded by that thought that suggests that I am something separate from everything. And once again, every choice I make is not a choice that I make. It's a choice that is made through me. That's why the old paradox, at the same time that we seem to be the producer, the actor, the writer, and the protagonist in our own movie, simultaneously, we play extra on a much bigger play. So, this play itself happens or seems to appear in the freedom that we are. Do you follow? So, yes, we are freedom, but we're not free to do whatever we think we want. And the reason for that, if we can say so, is because ultimately the purpose would be to know who we are. Not who we are as individuals, but who we are as unlimited, all-encompassing love, freedom that we are. So, the only way we can experience that, not we as individuals, but the only way that can be recognized or experienced or realized, if you want to use that word, is when we withdraw the attention from what is limited, meaning from this dream of appearances. Now, if you're very comfortable in this dream of appearances, having everything you want, making the choices you think you're making and make your dreams come true, if you're too comfortable in it, what would be the motivation to get to know who you are? That's why the story of the prodigal son is powerful, because what it's pointing to is that the son is free. It has everything. With the father, he has everything. But he wants to somehow become his own, become God, so to speak. He wants to be like the father. He wants to go ahead and make it on its own. So he goes out and creates his own world. But the world he creates is a world of limitation, is a world of duality. Consequently, he experiences the consequence of that decision, in which eventually he has to struggle to make a living. He has to compete with others to try to get ahead. And finally, when everything is lost, because that is the nature of that dream is supposed to be a disaster, otherwise the son will not want to come home. So once he realized that he loses everything, and now he's sleeping in the streets, so to speak, and it's eating, even the stuff that animals, like pigs and everything are eating. Finally, he says, you know what, I when I was at home, I had everything. What was I thinking? I don't know. But the bottom line is that I cannot do it by myself. I have to return home. You see? Well, we are really, the invitation here with these videos is not to give up in your life and don't do things or anything. Things are going to be done anyway. We're not the one making the choices, but with the recognition of the fact that I am, when you rest in that, all of a sudden you're having a taste of that freedom, which is what you are. Not the freedom to make choices, but the freedom to be. And then the paradox is that when you are resting in that freedom to be, you see how life takes care of life. It's kind of like saying that at all times, I'm adding this here. At all times, within the story of the prodigal son, God is sending angels to see if at any point the son is willing to listen and return home. But the son doesn't listen to the angels because he's too busy putting attention to what he thinks he knows and how he can make things happen. So the way I see it is that in this world of appearances, life is taking care of life. You're never alone. No. You're always taken care of, believe it or not. You always have your daily bread. You always have whatever you need for this moment. But the bottom line is that life, which is taking care of itself, if you remember, if you go back to the recognition that you are life, not getting caught up in the things that I want to do here, the things that I need to do here. Again, those things happen on their own because, again, the script is already written. We're predestined to eventually return home, whether we like it or not. And home is freedom. You see? So how cannot we like freedom, right? Meanwhile, the only invitation here is to notice that the only thing that gets in the way of the freedom that you are is believing the content of the mind. Because the mind likes to make up all kinds of stories. And if you fight the mind, or if you believe the mind, you're going to get caught in a loop, a never-ending loop, where finally the time will come where you have to give up. See? So we are all destined eventually to let it all go. Not at the same time necessarily, okay? So that's why, these videos are not for everybody. This is just something that comes through me as inspiration. That's the script that I'm supposed to play. That's a role that I'm supposed to play. And if life wants me not to make videos like this and do something else, well, we'll see. I don't know. But as of this moment, this is the role that I'm supposed to play. And from the moment I wake up in the morning, my life is surrendered to the divine. Simple as that. I don't have any goals. I don't have any ambitions. I don't have any things. And yet things do happen through me. Actions takes place through me. So it's not like I'm sitting in a couch with my eyes closed in contemplation. No, I live just normal life. The difference is that when there's no identification with the content of the mind, the weight is lift off them shoulders. You see, It's like all of a sudden I am experiencing that freedom, but not the freedom, not a personal freedom, which is not, there's no such thing, but there's the freedom of knowing that I am, and I see how life unfolds, and the character have all kinds of experiences, but the same, but again, when there's a recognition that I am, I'm resting in beingness, and that is the freedom. That's the freedom, you see, that we are. And what will happen with the character? I don't know. I don't know what life wants me to do or to say or where to go. All I know is that I am. And that's the simplicity of this. And once again, one has to be ready for this, and that is not the decision that the individual makes, that is just part how life unfolds. Some people take one path, some people may take the other one, but in the end, all path or all roads leads to the same place, leads to Rome. Some may seem to be larger or longer, that's fine, but in the end, we all have to come back home because we are home. That's the point. You're home always. Just the believing that you're not home is what creates suffering. And the believing that I'm not home begins with the belief that I'm a separate character in a world of separation, you see. But when I return back to this moment, to this, and don't identify with the content of the mind, I feel the peace of being home in spite of what may be happening. That's what is referred to as the peace that surpasses all understanding. And I rest in the peace that I am, while again I see how life used the instrument or this image or whatever you want to call it to do whatever needs to be done. If you have family and you have a regular job or a career or whatever the case may be, well, that is your script. That's what you're supposed to do. So you don't have to worry about, if you surrender your life to truth, then you're going to leave your family and you're going to go to some cave, unless that is your calling. You know, who knows? But usually that is not the case. You continue showing up at work, doing whatever you're doing. But again, there's a lightness about it because there's no longer so much attention into what do I need to do or how to make things work. It's more watching how things are unfolding on their own. And if you're a business owner, you'll find yourself making the decisions that business owners make, but without the heaviness of trying to control and macro or micromanaging anything. You know, again, again, life unfolds the same. You see, life unfolds the same, but with a different way of living the experience. That's what I mean. You still will take care of your kids if you have kids. You still will do whatever it is that you need to do if that is what your calling is. Anyway, I mean, everything will be done as if nothing would have happened. As if nothing had have changed. That's why in the Zen it says, before enlightenment chop wood carry water, after enlightenment chop wood carry water. The only difference, if there's such a thing, is that before the recognition of this, there was the struggle, the competition, and the fear of what would happen if. But after this shift in mentality takes place, you're still doing the same things, but somehow with a different mentality. You're not attached to results. Things are not done trying to control things because of fear of what may happen. Things are done as part of a role that we're supposed to play. You see the difference? So, right now, you're resting in the freedom that you are because you are freedom. You're not free, you are the freedom itself, in which this whole seeming experience seems to appear and disappear, like the fourth book of the series. I am, in which everything seems to appear and disappear. And this is pointing to that. And when this recognition, or when this it's seen, when you can see through the veil of the content of the mind, you live in peace. You see? That's what the famous happily ever after. There's no ever after, because there's no after. But if you're free right now, and if you're happy right now, and this is all that there is, when that will be the equivalent of happily ever after. And well, this is inspiration that came through. I hope it served. And as always, may peace permeate the mind so that love can become evident.